Hello everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's Paint With Me Live. My name is Brittany Lewis, and Sundays is the day that I work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So this week we are picking back up, of course, with the Four of Wands, which has been, I guess, the card we've been working on for the last several weeks, several live streams. So if you're new here and would like to see more, hey, TN lady, how you doing? I'm glad to see everybody in the chat. Whether you're watching this live or the replay, I really appreciate you for being here. Now, if you would like to support me in any way, shape, or form, the quickest, easiest, and fastest way to do that is to hit the like button. And if you would like to see more, I stream twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. I still have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers. This week we had a little bit of growth, so we'll of course be reviewing the Cosmic Gateways Tarot for everyone who is new here. But until then, we're just going to jump right back into the Four of Wands. So I haven't really worked on this card any this week. I think the last time I worked on it was Sunday after our live stream, and all I did, where we left off, we were working with the female character, the bride, in this image, right? I'm gonna zoom out so you guys can see exactly what's going on. There's a bride and a groom. They're jumping the broom. She does have on shoes, but I have not put those in yet because I just hadn't gotten around to it. But where we left off, I was putting in the light and shadow for the bride, and I went on and finished her skin. I did all of her makeup. I did her, add a little gloss to her lips. I added her some toenail polish, all of the things. I didn't really I didn't make the toes fancy or anything like this, because I want to keep in mind that this is a card. So some of the details I don't have to necessarily articulate to the fullest. Plus she's going to have on shoes, so it just wasn't necessary for me to do. But I am very happy with the way that her skin turned out. She has a very rich glow to her that I really enjoy. And I like that I picked the purple, sort of the fuchsia color, which I pulled from the bouquets or from the bushes that are out front. And so today, I think rather than work on the male character, I think I would like to go ahead and put in the background posts. So these are going to represent three of the wands for this Four of Wands, and then of course the broom is going to be the fourth. So last week we talked a little bit about putting some fairy lights on this, so it's going to add a little bit of brightness. It'll also hopefully make these three posts stand out, so that we know that we are looking at three of the Four Wands. So I'm just going to go there, and then we'll move around the canvas, because this part shouldn't take very long at all. We'll move around the canvas and kind of see, you know, what needs to be done. Right? So far, there's quite a bit that still needs to be done. I would probably consider this about, I don't know, maybe 75% complete, maybe, and that's being probably a little optimistic and generous. I still have the canopy at the top to do, the cloth, as well as the flowers and things like that. I still have the male character to do. I still have both of their clothes to finish, and I have the broom, and of course I have to finish the rest of the background. So we're going to be here for a minute, and again, I don't have the next set of cards done. So we're just going to take our time with it. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, I do have a symmetry ruler on a very separate layer. It's on its own layer by itself. I'm going to turn it on so that I don't have to do this twice. So I could just work on one side and it'll pretty much show up on the other. And then that'll kind of lessen the load for what I have to do. Yeah, so I hope you guys are having a great week this week. This October is birthday season in my household. So everybody except me has a birthday this month. So I'm usually pretty busy around this time of year, making sure everybody's celebrated and, you know, loved on the way that they should be celebrated and loved on. And so that's coming to an end at the end of the month. So it's been fun. It definitely has been fun. So we've done some hiking this month. We've gone to the haunted, here in Memphis, we have a corn maze every year, and then around this time of year they do like the haunted corn maze. So we did that. We've been moving quite a bit this month, so we've had a lot going on. So I have not had the time to sit and work on this particular card or this project this week, but of course Sundays is the day, so I get a chance to make up some of that time with you guys live, so you guys can see part of the process of creating a tarot deck. Now, this week we also had quite a bit of growth on the channel. We've had quite a few new subscribers. So just in case you're new here, just a little bit about the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So this project is one that I started in late 6 years ago, late 2019. And as a part of this project, there are going to be 78 cards. So this is a tarot deck, right? Meant to be used by tarot readers or collected, or, you know, however people choose to use it. So this has been a project that I've been working on for the last 6 years off and on. Now, I had gotten to a point where I certainly needed to set aside time to work on this particular project. And so, of course, Sundays became that day. Later in the process of streaming, I added on Wednesdays, which have been really, really nice because Wednesdays gives me an opportunity to do other things. So, for instance, this week one of the other reasons I hadn't been working on this is because I had been creating pieces for a portfolio. So Wednesdays is sort of the day that I can do stuff like that, even though this past Wednesday I didn't, because again we have birthday season this month. So Sundays is the day that I do that, and I am here as much as I can be every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central. So again, if you like this sort of thing, if you're fascinated by the process of creating, you just want to see me create live and talk about my passions and the things that I really enjoy doing, then be sure to join me every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central, except next Sunday because I'll be out of town. All right, so yeah, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot will be a 78 card deck. And again, as a part of that, it'll also come with a little white book. And the little white book is just sort of the baseline guidebook, and it'll correspond to all of the cards. And I do also have plans to have a secondary companion book to go with the project as well. I just have not decided whether or not I am going to launch that all at the same time, or if I'm going to launch the deck first and then see how the audience reacts to it and then release the second book. I have about 3 chapters of it written, and so all I have left to do within that book is just put together the individual pages and select sections for the cards themselves. And so that can't really be completed until I finish all the cards. Right, so I am thinking about that. Trying to figure out how to best publish it, what's the best sort of course of action. But I have time because I have about 36 cards left to complete. So I don't know how long it's going to be before I can release this project in the wild and sort of publish it and go through all of that. I'm not really sure, but we'll be here until we do. So what I'm doing is sort of, I've created this image and created this document in a series of layers. Now, for you, those of you who are new here, layers are sort of like stacks of paper, right? And if you want to think in terms of like a birthday cake or like tracing paper or things like that, your bottommost layer is going to be whatever's in the background. And so we stack the layers to foreground. So what I've done is I've actually, when I was doing the leaves in this, the greener leaves, it actually added some shadow to the post. So I'm trying to decide now, I'm turning it off and on, and I'm trying to decide whether or not this is something that I want to keep in the image or if this is something that I could take away. So far, it looks like something I don't necessarily need. So for the moment, I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to get back to adding my baseline colors to the posts. So again, I'm working with the symmetry ruler, which is a nice little shortcut. This means that I don't have to draw whatever I do on one side kind of shows up on the other, so I don't have to draw things twice. So that helps me out a whole lot. Now, this is a tool that I like to use pretty sparingly because, in my opinion, when it's done and there is no sort of counterbalance to it, it tends to come out very stiff. So in this image, a lot of the background is in symmetry, but I have I feel like enough components within the image so that it doesn't feel stiff because we have other things going on. But it's in terms of it being in balance, that goes along with the meaning of this card, which is stability, balance, structure, that kind of thing. So it all kind of plays to the strengths of the meanings of the cards, and plays to the strength of being very intentional about how I create the cards and the meanings, so that it's easy to read once you pick these up, right? But I do have to keep in mind that these are going to be cards, right? And not spend too much time on minute details or anything like that. With that, I do try to find a balance because I understand that these could be blown up, but not to the point where I have to like add super small details or anything like that, unless I just feel like I should. So what I'm going to do here and what I'm doing is sort of going back and forth and moving around texture. And again, I'm just putting down the baseline color of these posts, keeping in mind that I'm going to put some fairy lights on the background so they'll glow a little bit. But for the time being, we're just laying down the basic colors, and then we will add more information as we go. So that is sort of the gist of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. When it goes into autosave, I'll show you guys what that looks like so far. And I probably need to go ahead and update the presentation because it does not include all of the cards, but I feel like it gives you a really, really good take on what those cards look like. And so that you can kind of get the vibe of it. And if it is something that you're interested in, I do have a wait list available. I do have a newsletter as well. I just, as one person, sometimes things like that are a little bit difficult for me to keep up with. But my intention is that if you join the wait list, once I release this deck, once I release this project, you guys will be the first to know when it goes public so that you'll have first dibs, whether that is through a Kickstarter or through pre-orders. I haven't quite decided that either, right? But it'll be one or the other. So you guys will be the first to know when it drops so that you can place your order before, it goes like public and all of that. Because I'm going to do a limited print run the first go round just to kind of make sure that I am able to sell what I purchase or what I have manufactured. And then if it becomes a thing where I'm feeling like, okay, I really need to keep these in stock, then I will. I foresee it being that, but I tend to err on the side of optimism, right? So I want to be very realistic and make sure that I am able to meet the demand and make sure people are enjoying it. And if there are any tweaks or anything like that from reviews, and I'll be able to do that, on a smaller scale to start with, and then I can go and grow from there. I do plan to have these available for wholesale. So I know there's been some interest in purchasing these wholesale. So that'll be a thing. So however we set that up, I'll make sure that if you have a store or a shop or anything like that and you want to purchase these to sell in your store, that will be something that you can do. All right. So what I've done so far, just lay down sort of a series of colors. It looks like a little bit of a gradient. I started with my regular hotline brush, which is a nice smooth round brush. It gives me a very smooth transition. And then from there I went to the chalk because that gives me that wood grain texture, right? So it kind of starts to lay in that texture just a bit. And from here, what I'll do is I'll grab that chalk brush again. I'm going to make it a smaller brush, and then I'm just going to add in some wiggles and squiggles. It's going to be extremely free form, extremely easy going, and easy to do. So something like this, right? And as I move into the lighter areas of this post, then I'll change the colors as I go along, something like this, so that we can kind of see that wood grain texture show up. And again, because this is meant to be wood, we don't necessarily have to be super precious about how it looks. We don't have to sort of follow any pattern or anything like that. Just kind of making it up as we go. So yeah, again, I hope you guys have had a great week. It's been so busy for me this week, but I love it. Again, I really love being able to celebrate the people that mean a lot to me. So everybody has a birthday this month, and we're making sure that they all are feeling the love and feeling celebrated and all of the wonderful things. But last week, I think I mentioned, was it last week? I mentioned looking for a tattoo apprenticeship. So I have been sort of working towards that and making sure that I have artwork that I feel like represents what I want it to represents my ability. So I've been working on that a little bit. I've been drawing all day prior to this live stream. I've been drawing all day long. So one of these days I'll be able to show you guys some of the progress there and kind of let you in on how that's going. I'm really excited about that because I feel like something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's just that the timing right now is excellent for it for me. Right. And so because I have such excellent timing and it's just sort of working out, I feel like now is the best time to sort of work toward that goal. So again, if any of you viewers here in Memphis are tattoo artists or tattoo artists that are taking apprentices, I am very interested in doing that before I hit the pavement, because that's the next step, is to sort of get out and visit shops and do that to sort of land me an apprenticeship. So really, really excited about that. It's been fun. It's been really nice. And I'm learning a lot in the process of sort of getting my portfolio and stuff like that together, because when we're setting up portfolios, we sort of have to tailor them to whatever we're trying to do, right? So anytime I am sort of applying for design jobs, I have a portfolio specifically for design jobs because I work as a graphic designer. So that would include branding, that would include package design, that would include any web design if I've done any or have any that I would like to showcase, any of that kind of thing, advertisements, that goes into my graphic design portfolio. when I am trying to do book covers or kind of going into that realm, I have a portfolio for that. So I have lots and lots of comic book covers and children's book illustrations, and all of that goes into that portfolio, so that when people are like, hey, can we see your work for this particular kind of project, then I can present examples of that. And I've been doing this so long that I have so many different kinds of art that I do. Same with portraits. When people want to see portraits, I have a collection of portraits that I can show them in different mediums. So that's not just digital portraits, that's also India ink, because I used to do a lot of India ink portraits. That's acrylics, because I used to do a lot of acrylic portraits as well. So they get a chance to see a range, and they can pick from the range and go from there. And so with the tattoos, similar kind of thing is happening, except I don't have a lot of art that is tattoo sort of driven. So I'm sort of creating that. And as I create that, because I know I'll have to learn certain styles, I'm experimenting a lot with different styles. And it's been so much, it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. Now, of course, I do have, like 16 years worth of artwork that I could show and showcase and do all of that. But just being able to deliberately work towards something to add to a specific set of images, it's just been delightful. It really, really has. So I've been having a whole lot of fun doing that. I'm still nervous, but I think because I'm a little bit older, it's just like, I'm nervous. Yeah, sure, because I'll be learning something new and entering into a new field. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm excited to learn the mechanics of it. I'm excited to learn sort of the ins and outs of that particular art form. And so it is exciting. It is exciting, to say the least. So, okay, back to these posts. Now, I pretty much got the gist of what I would like to do in terms of how I have these posts looking. For the backmost post, I still have the symmetry ruler in, but I'm going to turn it off so that when I do the texture, it's not so symmetrical. I want it to feel very organic and feel like it's been cut from a tree, right? Before I do that, I would like to add a little bit of a highlight, just a little bit of a highlight, because again, we're going to be adding a light source to these posts, which means that they're going to glow in some way. So is the background. The background is going to glow in some way as well. I don't think we're going to get to that just yet. I think that'll probably be one of the last things that I do, adding the lights to the posts, because wherever that light hits is going to sort of also hit the background, right? So all of the information that I'm going to put behind the characters in terms of bushes and things like that, those will be affected by the fairy lights. But until we get to that point, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this nice light color, and I'm going to brighten it just a bit, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight along the side of this here, and it should show up on both sides, and it's a little bit bigger than I would like. So I'm going to undo that and then lower the size of my brush, and then we'll make sure that where it's kind of too bright in the upper right corner, that's not there to distract the eye. All right, so it's auto saving, which is a great time while it's doing that for my new folks here. If you haven't been here for a while, let me show you what the Cosmic Gateways Tarot looks like. So again, this is a project that I dreamed up a lot of years ago. many years ago, right? And I was looking for a tarot deck to read. I bought my first one when I was 16 years old, and immediately was very disinterested in it because I could not see myself in the cards. I didn't know what I was looking at. And at that time, of course, we had the internet, but there were not nearly as many resources to help a new reader sort of jumping to reading tarot. So I was kind of on my own. The only thing I could find on the internet at that time, we're talking like 2002. So only thing I could find around that time was like articles on reading the Celtic Cross, and that was about it. There was no really step-by-step guide. So I just had this and it was a little mini deck of cards. I had this little mini deck of cards that I didn't really like the artwork for at that time, and I could not see myself in it, and I could not relate to it. So fast forward many years later, I'm an adult, I'm jumping back into tarot because it's something, of course, that I've been interested in for a long time, coming from that experience, right? At that time, and we're talking at least over a decade, right? Gotten to the point where I'm looking for another set of cards, and I'm still not seeing myself in those cards, right? I would see cards that represented diversity and represented a certain culture and group and things like that. However, what I was finding in those cards was a lot of trauma, right? I was finding very heavy sort of woe is me energy that I did not like. I could connect to it on a certain level, but I felt like there has to be more here. I'm seeing all of these other really neat decks, but I'm not seeing myself in all of those neat decks. So it's like, okay, I have an issue. I'm not seeing myself in the thing that I want to buy and read for myself and use, whether it's leisurely or whether it is for my own self-care and self-love and all of that. But I was not able to see myself within those cards. So I decided later on, a little bit later on, that I was like, okay, I'm not seeing myself, so I could do this, right? At the same time, I was also creating artwork that I wasn't wholly satisfied with. So I was doing a lot of fan art. Because I also would sell work at a lot of comic book conventions. And even though having your own sort of art is nice to have at comic book conventions, you have to take in consideration your audience. And a lot of times people are looking for their favorite superheroes or their favorite movie characters or whatever the case was. So I found my footing there. I started creating things I thought would sell, and then I sort of went into things that I actually liked that applied to the audience. So I was a nostalgia person, right? I would have all the artwork from all of the 80s and 90s movies that I had grown up on that I wasn't seeing artwork for. Of course, fill in the gap, which is filling a void, which is something that sort of is a pattern of mine. If I see something missing, I'm sort of not going to wait on someone else to produce it. If I have the ability to do it, I'm going to do it myself, right? And I'm thinking that there are other people who like it. So for instance, they just had the 40th anniversary of The Last Dragon, which was showing in theaters recently, and I had a chance to see, which was a lot of fun. But I wasn't seeing any Last Dragon art, so I made a show enough picture, right? I wasn't seeing art for Spaceballs or Pennywise or any of those kinds of things that I kind of grew up on and things that I enjoyed. So that was my space within the comic book scene. So I was creating that, and I was happy with what I was creating, but I wasn't necessarily fulfilled with what I was creating. I wasn't necessarily happy with only doing that one thing. So I was like, okay, and it took me a minute to put it together. I was like, all right, I want to do a tarot deck, right? I'm not really happy with the art that I'm creating. I'm okay with it, in some regards, because I'm still being some part of myself. I'm not necessarily fulfilled by it. So I just took the chance. What happened leading up to that was that I was applying for grants and doing other things, trying to get all of my ducks in a row, but none of that was working out until it just felt like, okay, let me just get started. So I got started. My idea was to create something that felt very forward thinking, felt very uplifting, and felt very positive overall. I don't necessarily want to lean into trauma as much as what I was seeing in other sort of similar decks that spoke to a similar demographic. I didn't necessarily want to do that. Now, that's not to say that we won't address it, because for some of the cards, especially in the swords, and you guys will hear me say this a lot, especially with those particular cards, we'll get to that, right? But I didn't want the overall feeling of this project to read as trauma, right? So in doing so, I just leaned into what I wanted to see. I created the thing that I wanted to see, and that's where we are now. So when I started the project, I didn't necessarily have a plan. It was just, again, something that I needed to do because everything up to that point was sort of falling through for me. Nothing was really working out. Of course, I had my conventions and things like that. And I was going through like this creative existential crisis, because it was like, I'm feeling so unfulfilled with what I'm producing. People are liking it, right? They're buying it, and I'm making plenty of sales and missions and all of this, but I wasn't happy completely. I wasn't filled completely by the artwork that I was doing at that time. And so we've been working on this ever since. So again, it's been about 6 years or so of creating this project. Again, I didn't have a plan. I did not have a plan whatsoever when it came for time for me to do this. All I did was I was like, okay, I had a deck of cards, the Golden Thread Tarot, one of my favorite decks. I was like, all right, Golden Thread, which card should I start with? That's exactly how I started. And I ended up pulling the Chariot, so I was like, okay, cool, we're going to start with the Chariot. The problem was that I do have a version of the Chariot completed, but I was not satisfied. So that card morphed into the High Priestess. And I've been sort of on a roll ever since. So it started with the Chariot. Chariot turned into the High Priestess. Then it was like, okay, let me see what other card I have an idea for. And that's sort of the way that it went. Now, I focused heavily on the Major Arcana cards. So I finished all but 4 of those. And then we moved into the Minor Arcana. If I were to start this project over again, I would probably have some sort of plan in place in terms of, I guess, theming. I will probably have some kind of theme in place. On the other hand, though, I think for me, being able to sort of freeform this thing and kind of figure it out as I go has given me a level of freedom that kind of feeds my creativity. So I'm not so held on to a box or like put into one specific category when it comes to creating this. But I did want to lean into, again, the aspect of futurism, specifically Afrofuturism and science fiction and all of those sorts of things. That was sort of the overview. From there, whatever came up and out of me as I created these cards was just what it was going to be. And so thus it is. So I do have, again, 36 cards left to do. And the way that I've been creating these cards lately is in sets of 4. So what I'll do is I'll plan out sets of 4 and then I will complete. At first I was just drawing all of them and then I would just paint them one by one. Lately what I've been doing is just planning the cards and then I just sketch it as I go. So if I had all of my 4s planned out, I would sketch the first one, work on it, and I doubled them up, was working 2 at a time up until we got to this card. And the only reason I have not doubled them up is because I don't have the next set ready yet. So I have to decide if I'm going to continue in chronological order and just do all of the 5s next, or if I would like to do all of the 6s instead, or skip around and just complete a suit. So where we have 1s, I can go ahead and finish all of the 1s. I don't know if I want to finish all of the pentacles and so on and so forth. Of the major arcana cards, I have the Chariot, the Sun, the Moon, and a Star left to do. Of the minors, I have 5 through 10 left to do, plus the Aces and the Kings. So quite a few cards left to do, which is exciting. I have tried the Kings. I have not figured out exactly how I want to articulate that particular energy. I have tried every last one of the last 4 major arcana cards. And I still don't know how I want to do that as well. So I've just been kind of taking my time. We've been taking our time on this one just as a way of stalling until I can figure out what to do about the next 4 cards, right? But planning them out in 4s, I feel like really kind of helps me out quite a bit because then again, I can just work through that set and then get to the next set. But I've just hit a little bit of a hurdle, not knowing, and then also having other things that I would like to do and accomplish and complete. So all of that sort of playing into why we've been on this particular card on Sundays so much here lately. But I enjoy it. You guys are literally getting to see this particular card play out from beginning to end. And I guess I could show you guys what the planning sheets look like. So what I'll do is I'll take the cards, I'll break them down into numerology. So I'll say, okay, the number 4 means this, right? And I'll say, okay, for each of the suits, these are the keywords that match these suits. So last week we talked a little bit about what tarot consists of. There are 2 main sets of cards within these 78 cards. You have the major arcanas and then you have the minor arcanas. So with the major arcanas, these are your big energy things, right? So your Tower, your Devil, the Sun, the Star, the Magician, all of those are major arcana cards. But your minor arcanas are very akin to playing cards, just regular playing cards. So you have 4 suits just like you have 4 suits in playing cards. In the minors, you have pentacles, you have wands, you have cups, and you have swords. In your playing cards, you would have diamonds, clubs, spades, and hearts, right? So they kind of go together a little bit. Now, within those minor arcana cards, or within the playing card section, they also call them pips. Within those cards, you have your page, you have a knight, you have the king, you have the queen, and then you have numbers ace through 10, right? So, of the minors, I have all of the pages completed. I have all of the queens completed and all of the knights completed. Again, I don't have the kings done just yet. And then we're just working our way through the numbers. Now, the other hurdle that I have is figuring out how I want to incorporate the number of items into each card so that I'm still able to lean into visual storytelling, which is very heavy in this particular deck, and also not overcrowd the cards, right? So it's been done, and so I know it can be done. It's just a matter of me figuring out how I would like to do it and how I would like to showcase those things within those cards. So that's where we are. We're pretty much stuck, not stuck, but just sort of trying to figure out the next move in terms of what cards to create next, and then go from there. So it's very exciting. I don't know because I saw this as a completed project, but just to have this many cards done, 42, and this is number 43, it feels really, really good, especially since we've been working on this particular project for 6 years. to be more than halfway done, and to have made such great strides and progress within this last year has been pretty awesome. It certainly has. So I hope that you guys are sort of leaning into the things that you want to do and want to learn. Again, no matter where you are, what station of life you're in currently, I hope that you guys are sort of taking that chance on yourself and betting on yourself to learn a new skill, to do a new thing, to explore something new, to do something new if you want to, right? If you don't want to and you're content, you good with how life is, then bravo to you. That's really awesome, right? But for those of you who are sort of still in the process of learning and growing, and no matter again what age and station in life you are, I hope that you are making steps to do that, right? Even if it's just doing a little research, even if it's just speaking it out loud, because sometimes when we speak it out loud, that makes that thing real, right? I think last week we talked a little bit about being mindful of who you tell your goals to, but just being confident in your ability to get to that goal, right? Be able to accomplish that no matter how long it takes. You sort of have to have that kind of confidence in yourself. It does take a little bit of practice, because I think we all sort of get to a point sometimes where we're trying something new and we're feeling like, who the heck are we to do this thing, right? I was feeling like that not long ago. I was feeling like that not long, and when I say not long ago, like within the last week, where it's like you start to sort of second guess yourself and question yourself and all of that. But at the end of the day, you are you. Everyone starts from zero. Everyone starts somewhere. The key is just to start, right? The hardest thing is just to make that first step. And so if you are brave enough and if you can manage making that first step, I really feel like you'll be all right, right? All right, so I'm going to deselect this. This looks okay. I don't really care for that last stripe that I did, so I'm going to take that out, and then I'll deselect it again. That looks pretty good. That'll do. Now, again, we want to keep in mind that I'm going to have some lights wrap around that, which we're not going to tackle right now. We'll do that another time. Until then, let's move around. So that looks good. My posts are great. So the background is kind of coming together. So what I will do here is I will actually darken up this sketch so that you guys can kind of see what all is happening behind the scenes that I have to kind of fill in some of these gaps that I'm sort of working on. So we're bouncing around this canvas quite a bit, right? But I don't want it to be so like dark behind them. I do want some more of the greenery to bleed through. Now, this is not something that I think I'm going to work on during this particular live stream, but Wednesday we'll probably start tackling some of this and getting it over with. But as you can see, I just have little bits and pieces in here. All of this will be greenery, and then to kind of fill in this background. And I've been using some texture brushes, which have done a wonderful job of creating filler for me, so that it looks like bushes, but I don't necessarily have to draw like the individual leaves, such as what I've done in the canopy here. So that's a little bit about a little bit of what we have left to do, that background. And then again, I have my characters to finish, and I have all of this stuff at the top to get done. So let's see, where should we go? I'm going to lower this down again. And then I guess we can start working on our male character's face. We can get him sorted out. Let's do that. I'm going to lower the sketch just a bit, and then that'll allow me to see what's missing within his skin tone. So when we did the face and the skin for the bride last week, what I did was I had to kind of fill in the gaps from where I kind of I don't want to say I half-assed it, but like, I didn't fill in the flats all the way. So we're going to do that now. And make sure that it's nice and clean so that we have a good clean surface to work on when we add details. So I love being able to share this process with you guys. I'm still working. I know I keep saying this. One of these days is going to come up. Working on a series where I can show you guys sort of the ins and outs of working digitally. Now, I've seen lately, and I don't know why, I guess because every now and again I'll get sort of content that's the debate between AI and digital art and all of that. And so someone, I guess it was one of the AI bros, made a comment to say that if the internet goes down, digital artists wouldn't be able to work, which is nonsense. We don't need the internet at all to work. I just need power to my computer. And I also have the skill set to be able to draw outside of this. But I want to be able to show you guys the whole process and teach you guys how exactly I use digital programming such as Clip Studio Paint to create just about any illustration I want to create. I use references. I'm definitely team reference because I think a good reference makes all the difference in the world. to creating sort of whatever it is that you're after, whether or not you're compositing that reference yourself or you're drawing directly from references are awesome. Great resource, right? So I want to be able to show you that. Now, the thing about digital art is because there are so many programs and things like that to work from, I'll have to figure out a way to teach it so that no matter what you're working in, you'll be able to follow along. The only thing I can't really teach you is Procreate. Procreate for me, I cannot. I tried recently to complete a full illustration in Procreate. I think I'm just too used to what I'm used to, right? So for me, Procreate is great for sketching. I do lots and lots of sketches in Procreate. I can ink in Procreate. So when I'm doing like not comic book pages, but when I'm doing coloring book pages, I can like do the line work and things like that in Procreate pretty easily. When it comes to like blending colors and things like that, I can't figure it out, right? I don't know if it's not giving me the look that I want. And I just haven't had the opportunity or the patience to sit down and do that yet. Right? But in terms of like a computer-based program, such as Clip Studio Paint, such as Photoshop, such as Krita, I would say even Corel Painter, which works a little bit differently than most digital painting software. For the most part, they all work pretty much the same. They all have the same functions. They'll all have pretty much the same tools. And so I want to be able to structure those classes in a way that no matter which program you're working in, you know, this is how we do that. And this is the tool we'll use. I'm just using Clip Studio because that's what I've become used to recently. That's what I've been working in a lot over the last, probably since right before I started this project. So that is something I want to do. Now, they've given me access on YouTube to create courses. I don't know if that's a beta thing or what, but once we do that, that's probably where I'll keep those videos so that you guys can sort of have a digital art course, so that we can have a lighting course and like gesture drawing and things like that. And then two, I would love to point you guys in the right direction, because there are going to be people who teach those subjects far better than I probably could, but I'll do my best and show you that. For me, there's absolutely no gatekeeping when it comes to digital artwork, because we're all going to have our own signature style. We're all going to have our own sort of perspective and point of view when it comes to creating artwork. I just want to teach you how to use the tools so that you can carry on and do whatever you would like to do within these tools. I also have a couple other things brewing. I'm always busy. That's just kind of, I don't know what it is, but I just enjoy being able to create and share. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. So that is the goal. I don't know, again, when I'll have that done. I'm really just going to have to set aside time to do it, and then we'll go through there. So one of the things I wanted to discuss, and I'll do a whole standalone video of that, I always introduce myself as a professional graphic designer and illustrator. I am coming to the realization that some people may not know exactly what that means, right? So just a quick rundown, and then I will definitely do a standalone video about that, because I want to be able to show you guys the difference between the two. So both graphic design and illustration, painting, all of that falls under the umbrella of fine art. So if you go to college for graphic design, you'll get a bachelor's in fine art. So all of that falls under the same sort of umbrella, right? With graphic design, the whole purpose of graphic design is to communicate something, right? Whether you're communicating the title of the book, for instance, a graphic designer had to design the cover of this book, right? An illustrator did the illustration. Those are two different functions and two different jobs. But a graphic designer decides, okay, based on where this illustration is put, we can put the letters here, and I want it to look like this. And so that is the function of a graphic designer. Same with this. So this is a mic, my mic that I do all of my recordings with. A graphic designer designed the logo for this. They designed how the color to use, how they wanted the letters to look, all of that. Same with this box of Cheez-Its. A graphic designer designed the way that this packaging looks on this box of Cheez-Its. A graphic designer designed it. This is my yellow glasses. So a graphic designer designed Zini optical case. A graphic designer designed this sort of packaging here for this Dove hand cream. Yes, I do have a lot of stuff on my desk, but that is the function of a graphic designer. A graphic designer communicates something, whether that is to tell you what a product is, what is within something, what they're selling. That is the function of a graphic designer. So more often than not, myself, when I'm approached to do graphic design, is usually from the standpoint of creating branding. So branding, dealing with a brand's voice, so how they present themselves to reach a particular audience. That can be with the colors that they use. That could be with the type of images that they present to, in their advertisement. That can also be the way that they, their logos and things like that present. That is part of the umbrella of graphic design. So design is everywhere. Design is everywhere. It's such a crucial and I would say very underrated field. I think I've seen a lot of people mention it being like a side hustle. Don't approach it as a side hustle because there's so much that goes into graphic design. And there's so many avenues and so many things that design touches. That is graphic design. Now, illustration is creating images, right? So you guys have been watching me work on this particular illustration. I am drawing and telling a story through my artwork to create a card. That is illustration. So anytime I'm doing pictures and all those kinds of things, that is illustration, right? Both fall within the umbrella of fine art. Now, not all graphic designers can draw. Right? Not all, and you don't have to know how to draw to be a graphic designer. Not all the graphic designers can draw and do illustrations. So oftentimes, especially if you're an author, you're hiring someone to create your book cover, and depending on the style of book cover that you go for, you may have to hire two separate professionals. You may have to hire a graphic designer, and you might also have to hire an illustrator. It just kind of depends on what your project is. So for instance, here's a book by Brandon Sanderson. This is Words of Radiance. So the graphic designer designed the title. This is the author's name, the title, and all of the information that is found within this. But an illustrator actually does the pictures. So if you are someone who is designing a illustrated book cover, you may again have to hire two separate creative professionals to get the look that you're going for. Now, some graphic designers are illustrators. I'm one of those. I do both services and I charge accordingly, right? I do offer both services, but again, not all graphic designers are illustrators, and not all illustrators are graphic designers, right? So there are people who wholly focus and concentrate on creating the images, creating the icons, creating the illustrations, the pictures, do all of the visual storytelling, but they may not know exactly how to go about designing the design part of it. So again, when you're hiring someone, you have to first have in mind what it is that you're wanting. And then you have to hire professionals who fit sort of the end game, right? Fit what it is that you want to do. So I do both, right? I also do painting and things like that. Anything creative in terms of creating images and things, that's sort of my field. I got a photography hobby, you know what I mean? Any of that stuff, I just enjoy the process of creating and visual, which I consider visual storytelling across the board. It's just that some of that storytelling is meant to move you to do a certain thing, right? To communicate a certain message. That is graphic design. Illustration is more about telling a story through images, right? Photography as well. I feel like photography is a visual storytelling medium. Now, the hang up is that within that, with graphic design, usually you're working on a computer. The big dog software is Adobe, but I personally use Affinity after having used Adobe for many, many years. I don't like the subscription model, so I like being able to pay for software and be done with it. Affinity for me is where it's at. But most graphic designers are working in most offices and in businesses that hire designers work in Adobe. As a freelancer, I can go back and forth between the two, right? It doesn't really matter to me so long as I get it done and I can get the files to my clients. But that is so what we do. Now, within illustration, you have a whole host of other things that you can do. You have digital illustrators, right? So this particular card is a digital illustration. I am literally using a pen and I'm drawing on the screen and I am creating pixels where I want sort of coloring things to show up on the screen. That is digital illustration. You also have people who illustrate with watercolor. You have people who illustrate with gouache. You have people who illustrate with acrylics. And then you get into your fine arts, which are your paintings and things like that, and that kind of overlaps with the watercolor, the acrylic, and the oils, right? So all of that, right there, all of that kind of sometimes gets intermingled as we're looking at stuff on social media, and we'll see people who are illustrating, and especially if you're in the hiring realm and you may be very new to hiring a professional and creative things like that, it can get a little bit confusing and a little convoluted. But those are the differences. A graphic designer communicates things, tries to sell you things, tries to move a person through not just words, but with words and images. Oftentimes sometimes both, sometimes with just words, but it's designed in a way to make you do a certain thing, or to feel a certain thing, or to communicate a certain thing. Illustration, again, is all about drawing images, and it styles vary, right? You have people who do very realistic styles, you have people who do very cartoony styles, and you have chibi, and you have all of these different things, but all of that falls under the umbrella of illustration. And again, it all goes under fine arts, right? So some people think that design, because it's very communicative, is not an art form. I tend to beg to differ, but I don't know if that's because I'm biased and I tend to incorporate illustration within my graphic design. Not always, but I do quite often. Maybe that is why. And then it might be jaded by the sort of corporate setting of, not being able to do what is artistically right, but more so what the client needs. As a freelancer, I get a chance to balance them both, right? So I've learned a whole lot as a freelance designer about not only appeasing your clients, but also leveraging your expertise. So being able to say, okay, client, I love this idea that you have, but here's an alternative. That way it kind of, makes this thing that you want to communicate that much more clear, and that kind of thing. So it's about finding balance, and also being able to find clients that in projects that you really resonate with and that you can feel something for, so that you could put your best foot forward. And again, but one of the keys to that is also being able to charge whatever you feel is fair for your experience and expertise. So oftentimes when we are freelancing, we don't charge nearly as much as we should, and we become very resentful of clients just asking normal client things such as, doing revisions within their allotted revisions and all of this. And so that could be a thing as well. But all of that kind of goes, again, up under the umbrella of fine art, and again, learning business as well, because that is one of the things I wish I had done while I was in college, but I did not know. And so learn and grow as I go. All right. So it's been about 45 minutes. I didn't plan for this one to be a very long one. If you like this, make sure you hit a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. And it lets YouTube know that you really enjoy this type of content. You enjoy learning more about the Cosmic Gateway Tarot. You enjoy watching me, or whatever it is that you like about this live stream. Please hit the like button. It helps out so much. Now, I have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to see me live twice a week, on Wednesdays for Bring Your Own Project Live, and on Sundays for Paint With Me Live, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you do that, you'll be notified anytime I go live, as well as anytime I post a new video, which I have not done in a while. But again, there's a couple that I would like to go ahead and get off before the end of the year. And then next year we'll get into some of those courses and things like that. So do me that huge favor. Now, if you like a much more chill live stream where we just kind of work together and study together and listen to music, join me this Wednesday for Bring Your Own Project Live, where I'll be going live at 12:45 p.m. Central. And then next Sunday we won't be here, but we'll be back again the following Wednesday and Sunday, and so on and so forth. And so I hope you guys have a happy, creative, and prosperous week. Peace.